Thank you for joining today's session. We're going to talk around discovering malware in self-service templates. So this should be a fun session. My name is Nigel, and I'm head of developer relations at a company called Cloudsmith. So we need to understand, first of all, what malware is. I think probably everyone in attendance knows that malware is malicious software. So to separate it from common vulnerabilities, which are flaws in code that can be exploited, malware is deliberately, or it's with the intent of being malicious. It's used by cyber criminals, again, to steal information, to hijack devices, extort. For cryptocurrency, there's all sorts of use cases for malware. So in understanding the difference between vulnerabilities and malware, when we talk about vulnerabilities and we talk about these CVE IDs, so there's a flaw in code, it gets disclosed that if this flaw exists, a hacker out there could compromise that flaw in code. These vulnerabilities are categorized from low to medium, high criticality. We see the different levels of criticality to the vulnerability. Now, again, they can be compromised and they're not intentionally bad. It's just flaws in code that could be compromised by bad people. Whereas malicious code, when we see these malware identifiers or mal-year-id, similar to the CV-year-id, there's no severity system to this in open source vulnerability in this schema for how we classify malicious packages. And we're talking about software packages that are coming from open source upstreams, the like of NPM, PyPy, Maven Central, these kind of registries. So again, no severity means if it's malicious code, it's meant to be bad. Let's avoid it at all costs. So we know at this point what the difference between malicious code is and what a vulnerability is. But we need to look a little deeper into this OSV schema. So what are malicious packages? OSV, the project, was initially created just for categorizing open source vulnerabilities. So vulnerabilities in these open source upstreams. So you can see in this scenario, I can do a curl, just a simple web request against this API, which is the osv.dev. So this is a free open source, open infrastructure for you to use, and you can automate this. And we encourage people to do this when we're talking around our IDP or internal developer platform. So in this case, I'm looking up a PyPy, which is an open source upstream. There is a package in it called Jinja2. And in that software package, it also has a version, which is 2.4.1. You can query it, and of course, it tells us things like there is known to be a flaw. There's a CVE in that package on that specific version, and it even gives us an information about the advisory who informed that information. It was coming from NVD, the National Vulnerability Database. So you can also check this by the commit hash associated with that actual package, not just package name and version. But again, this is really just looking at vulnerabilities, and that was the essential focus of OSV. And then the project evolved and they realized, you know what, we could actually scope in malicious packages, which is essentially malware. So you see here, there's a legitimate package called Request. Everyone's using it. When I say everyone, whether you know it or not, it's a high volume of daily downloads, in the millions of weekly downloads. In this case, 234 million weekly downloads. So it's dependent in a whole lot of projects. Around 50,000 projects were using it at the time of this screenshot taken. And it's an Apache 2.0 license, meaning anyone can use it. So really, really popular, open dependency that everyone's using this dependency. Now you call it requests, REQUESTS, but what happens if someone were to publish malware to one of these public upstreams like PyPy or NPM, and they simply remove the queue from requests? Well, this is an example of typo squatting. And what we're doing with OSV is we're essentially saying, if I were to scan for requests, but just missing the queue, would any information be returned? And sure enough, the API says, yes, actually, there was a package. It was sent to the public open source upstream. And in fact, it did contain bad code. It was able to payload, was doing crypto mining malware, so probably an XM rig or something similar to that. So really bad. And it's all of this making the assumption that you type really fast as a software developer, as a platform engineer, an SRE, any type of DevOps role, and you accidentally forget a letter when you're typing and you download malware. That is the intention here. So we thought about this before. Again, like I say, public API. We're using OPA, Open Policy Agent, which is an admission control technology. Again, open source, free to use. Anyone in this room can use it. But what we're doing is we're basically taking the input coming from that OSV API, and I'm saying if it contains anything that starts with the suffix mal dash, it is classified as malware, and therefore it is bad. So the whole point of this is if I were trying to push, let's say, a known bad type of squatted package that contains malware to my private registry, in this case, it's quarantined as, malware. We would see this in our decision log coming from OPA, and of course it tells us, yeah, that RUS, the one missing the Q, that does have the information here that it was classified as a crypto mining malware. As I say, OPA, open source, OSV API, open source, all of this you can do today and build something similar to this project. Inside our Cloudsmith solution, this is how it would look, which is basically we've tagged it and we're showing that it was tagged as both malware, but also a type squatting example of malware, and it is being quarantined. That's kind of our unique approach to it, but essentially stopping developers from inadvertently consuming type squatted package from our private registry. Now, why does all this matter, and why is it so important to classify malware? Well, we live in a world where we can pull software dependencies. We have lock files, we have our requirement.txt file in the case of Python. And you can see here that this package exists, the legitimate request package exists in PyPy. When security researchers identify this bad package, generally speaking, they will delete it from the public registry. Problem with this is if I were to try and download that package right now, it would say, well, it doesn't exist, usual 404, you can't resolve it, you can't access the package that literally does not exist. But what if I cached it earlier? I would still have the malware and I wouldn't know if I had it in, for instance, in our IDP. So this is why the OSV API is so important, is to be able to look at stuff historically, but also currently to understand if it's currently still exists in PyPy, or just for that package name, version, or name, is it legitimate or not, or have I been pawned? That's essentially the focus point here. Now, you've probably noticed if you're in the software industry, the last month has been pretty brutal as far as supply chain attacks. They seem to pop up just about every single day. Here's a tweet that was by Michael Silsoni. It was some time ago, but he was basically describing the whole NPM Python ecosystem as sort of, it was actually about this exact request example, that it's sort of a Wild West right now where people are constantly making the mistake where, look, you've got a heavy popular package, you're missing an S on it, and sure enough, someone's already registered that package, like I mentioned earlier, and people are making, in this case, 21,610 downloads. So in case there's any confusion or ambiguity about this and people are thinking, okay, this isn't a real attack, this wouldn't really happen, it really does happen actually all the time. So type squatting is a really easy way to solve the problem. This is before we even talk about account compromises where, legitimate maintainers of open source are getting compromised anyway, and people are, putting malicious code into those open source dependencies that we all rely on. Here's another example of where AI is playing a naughty trick when it comes to software security. So in this scenario, we use AI every day, which is to say, we're pulling software dependencies based on code generation from an LLM. It doesn't matter what it is, Claude code, it could be from ChatGPT. So in this scenario, AI, a tendency to make mistakes. It hallucinates and it fabricates package names. So this security researcher realized this Barry and Leniardo, I believe was the name of the researcher who discovered it. But what they were saying was, if I were just to publish that package name, in this case it was like Hugging Face Hub CLI tool, would people make the same mistake I did, which is to get fabricated package names from an LLM, and I would download it. And sure enough, it turned out this was a real attack surface, which is, AIs just throw code at you and libraries and dependencies say, just run it. And when you run that code and you say, wow, it just magically works. The code was all perfect and validated and all of that. But the thing is, you're effectively downloading malware as a result. So again, it really does tie back to the part about you do need to vet and audit and understand what the heck you're bringing into your software supply chain. Now, how OSV identifies and categorizes all these type of attacks is probably the most fun part of this session. So as I say, it's open infrastructure. Originally created by Google, and now it's offloaded to the OpenSSF. So it's, again, really good organization to be stewarding this. But essentially what they've done is they've got a fuzzer, and the fuzzer is this kind of scanner tool, and it's scanning those public upstreams. Like I say, it's public code, it's public, it's no different to public GitHub repository. So this stuff can be scanned. So they're checking for things like campaigns with ill intent. We're looking for those type of squatting examples we mentioned a while ago. But it's not just the malicious code. They're also checking for things like vulnerability information. Now it maps all this from those upstreams. So there's like the Maven Centrals, the NPMs, PyPy, Go, whatever the programming language you're dealing with will most likely have software dependencies that come from these upstreams. So the OSV scanner tool, which you can run literally as a CLI in your terminal, or you can run it these GitHub actions, you can run it in a bunch of different ways. As I say, public API, you can build around it whatever way you want. And from here, you would actually take and map the information associated with CVs. So it's possible you have a package name that's associated with a GHSA, a GitHub Security Advisory. It has a vulnerability and it has malicious code associated with it. Tying this back to the associated libraries for the user, we can say, okay, here's a vulnerability on a specific version. And again, you can just simply scan it as an end user. It just works. What's beautiful about the OSV setup is that essentially the data is presented in JSON structured. So, nearly everything we do today, we think of software bill of materials and SBOMs in there in JSON format. So is the structured output here of the OSV report. Whether you go to GitHub, you'll notice that for each report that has the mal-identifier in it within the OSV schema within those reports, it will always show up in this JSON structure. And the information it's presenting is things like where was the source that reported it, associated domains, URL, IP. These are all the indicators of compromise, or IOCs. It's all relevant from a reporting angle. This is what it looks like in GitHub. So essentially we're saying, I'm looking for a type of squatting in the GitHub repository, which is OpenSSF. And within there, there's a project called Malicious Packages. Again, it's all tying back to this OSV. And you can see in the piece that I've highlighted here, you can see it's malicious reports. In here, I have PyPy, which is an upstream for Python packages. In there, you can see the row S example we mentioned, which is the type squatted requests. And here it has the unique identifier mal-year-ID. And from there, it tells us that it was type squatted. Clicking into it, you can see, you have all your different upstreams. So again, it covers all of the main open source upstream repositories. And naturally, it has the details of the report. So with that, there are different projects all sort of trying to solve the same problem. But essentially, we are now living in a kind of an age of software supply chain attacks. And naturally, this was always going to happen. We're seeing organizations like Team PCP, and they're probably the most high profile example of this today. So in this scenario, you can just check for in tools like open source malware or OSV. I'm not trying to sell any solution here. I'm just stating that these exist, but essentially checking for packages in the organization or upstream where it comes from, and being able to view the details. And even if you're using something like OSM, open source malware, naturally it will also map back to an OSV advisory. So that's sort of the single point of truth as far as open source intelligence that we can feed into this IDP solution. As I mentioned, when you click into that, these are all public pages. So there is no software dependency from those upstreams that you cannot filter through. And as I say, you'll want to build an automated system to really either prevent pushing code, again, something like GitHub Actions, where it's going to fail if you are using, for instance, this known bad package that has a malware identifier. Here's an example of something I built before. It's just a simple Python scanner, but it was checkmalware.py, and essentially I was allowed to scan upstreams and package names. And the idea is I'm returning information associated with the two different tools, things like open source malware and the open source vulnerability. Both present their data in different ways. One has severity codes, one doesn't. One gives me far more information about all the associated advisories. One just gives it in a very clean cut view. But again, all my code here is open sourced, and anyone can use this project anytime they want. And with that, I just want to say thank you. I'd love to talk to people about automating this process of malware scanning within IDP in particular, since technologies like Packstage are using the NPM registry today, and again, are just as susceptible as anywhere else to be impacted. Have a lovely event and see you there.